Good morning. Here we are at the Computer History Museum. We're going to have a oral history interview with Kanwal Rekhi, one of the pioneers in Silicon Valley and currently a venture capitalist, among other things. We'll get into details in a moment. The interviewers are two of us. I am Jeff Katz from the Semiconductor Special Interest Group, and
I'm Marguerite Gong Hancock, the Executive Director of the Exponential Center here at the museum.
So let's get started with some easy questions to get Kanwal into the mood of speaking. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up, and what kind of family were you, and what did your parents do, and what did you like to do as a kid?
So I have a pretty interesting start. Yeah, I was born in Pakistan. Yeah, before partition. In 1945. Yeah, it was still British India, and British were getting ready to leave. And my father, who had gone to war, in Africa, he had combat, and he got promoted to become an officer in the Indian Army. So it was a very exciting period. I was only 2 when we left Pakistan, and I didn't start my schooling, formal schooling, till 5th grade. First 4 grades I was sort of homeschooled by my grandfather, and because we were moving, from Pakistan to India, and my father had just become officer, and we moved every 6 months to 8 months in India, and so moved a lot, and then we finally settled in a city called Kanpur, which is sort of about 200 miles east of New Delhi, and because my father felt the kids have to go to school, and he can't be moving all the time, and so I had my formal education in Kanpur. And just to finish the story, in 1963, I went to IIT Bombay, and IITs were the brand new institutes being set up by the government of India to train the engineers for emerging India.
Well, before you got to IIT, what were you doing in the formal education? How were you educated there?
Before it was regular public schools. What we call here in the U.S. The public schools. In India, you would call them private schools, because public schools are like the British private schools in India. But I went to the government schools, and
did you have any particular favorite topics?
Mathematics.
Uh-huh.
Math. The math was my favorite, and by extension, sciences, physics, chemistry.
Okay. Yeah. So what made you decide for IIT?
So by late 50s, if you remember, the world was very exciting. The space stuff was starting to happen. The transistor had come, and the early computers from IBM were happening, and so there was this sense that the science and technologies is the future, especially in India. And the IITs were this brand new institutes being set up by the government, and the one I went to was set up with the Russian help. IIT Bombay. It was Russia and US were the 2 superpowers. And U.S. Set one up later, but the one I went to was set up by Russian help. There was one set up by German help, one set up by British help, and so IIT Bombay.
Did they each have a different specialty?
They had the core civil and electrical engineering everywhere, and maybe IIT Bombay focused on metallurgy a lot, because the Russians were very much into metallurgy and materials, and when U.S. set up one in Kanpur in 1964, and that focused on computers, computer science, and that became a center of excellence for that one. When I was at IIT, there were no computers there.
You mentioned your love of math and the sciences. Did that come from you instinctively, from your family background, your environment? Where do you trace that interest?
No, there was no family background in math and sciences at all. As a matter of fact, there was no family background in education. My father was a high school graduate, And in 1941, that was considered very, very good. High school graduation was, very good education. He joined the army, at the start of the war, and there was no family history of education. I was the first one in the family to go to college, be on my own, and my older brothers, both, went into the army, like my father did.
So you went all the way through at Bombay?
IIT Bombay.
Okay.
Yeah, which was about 1,000 miles away from home.
Yeah. Were your grades okay there?
I was average. IIT Bombay. I was a very good student, before I went to IIT Bombay. But competition was very tough.
Yeah.
Just about everybody at IIT Bombay, was at the top of his class before he got there. So being average at IIT Bombay was being good. To get to the top there, you had to be really sharp.
I understand.
Yeah.
I can relate perfectly.
Yeah. But I did all right. I held my own. I did. The subjects I liked the best. I did math. And double electrical engineering is almost all math.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved it. And more abstract things were better. I liked them. Field theory. Very few people like field theory, but I love field theory. Vector analysis. So these were the subjects, which were pretty abstract.
Were there any particular teachers who directed you or inspired you?
I don't remember any from my early days at all, really. I was basically self-sufficient. There was nobody at home and nobody out there that was inspiring me. This news about the Sputnik being launched and this 10 megaton bomb being blasted and 50 megaton bomb being blasted in the open air. So these were the stories, and so I was totally self-driven, all the way through IIT.
All the way through IIT as well?
Yeah, all the way through IIT. I was pretty quiet, pretty shy. As a matter of fact, in India they use word, I was the hidden person. Nobody would notice me as an individual, and so I was, not outgoing person. And it wasn't until much later in life I became, much later in life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got out of IIT. Did you go directly to graduate school?
Yeah, straight to Michigan Tech.
What made you choose Michigan Tech at the time?
Michigan Tech was very cheap. It was a very cheap place. About $200 quarter in tuition, $100 quarter in. It was very cheap. Overall, and they had financial aid to supplement most of my to cover most of my expenses. But from India, you don't know any difference between Michigan Tech and MIT and Stanford, because they're in America. There's not much. This is long before the internet. They all had nice brochures that I found in the library. You couldn't tell them apart a whole lot. But Michigan Tech offered a financial aid, and it was cheap.
Did you get through there in what kind and how much time? The normal amount?
Normal amount of time. So there was a bit transition that took place. I get to Michigan Tech. I study hardcore power engineering at IIT, transformers, motors, generators, circuit analysis. And I get to Michigan Tech, and there's no power engineering, no EE at all, being taught. Logic design, system design, control systems. It was total transition overnight. And
did you enjoy that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, I loved it. And I got to Michigan Tech. They had it at Pure Center, and within 6 weeks after I got there, I was the expert in Fortran on the campus. People will come to me to help solve debug their software. And by the end of first semester, I was very comfortable. Logic design was made for me. Logic and system design courses were just tailor made for me.
At the time, did you imagine what kind of applications or jobs you would work in, given the larger kind of business and political environment that you mentioned, with exciting new technologies and new companies, or were you just sort of discovering it as you went along?
In the US or in India?
Either one. What was guiding your focus when you were in graduate school?
So in India, the job environment was very, very bad, very, very bad. India was a socialist country. They had set up these centers of excellence for education, but they had not allowed industry to be set up. The government was controlling. They were following the Russian model of planning, licensing the businesses, and so most of us who came out in my generation had no suitable job in India. You could be hired as a sales engineer. You could be hired as a support engineer for one of the overseas foreign companies. There was no design jobs, no engineering jobs to speak of. So 80 to 90% of my classmates left India back in 1967. In the US, you didn't worry about the jobs because in late 60s, US was still hitting the full stride. Space program was on, and all the people were being sent to Vietnam, so there was shortage of people for the jobs. And it wasn't until 70, maybe I should talk about that one. It wasn't until 70 when the things really slumped. In 1969, we put the man on the moon, right? Mm-hmm. And there was no follow-up. And the Vietnam War was winding down, and people were coming back in large numbers. And there was a recession, and I got my first job at Michigan Tech through the placement office at a company called EAI, which was an analog and hybrid computing company in New Jersey. And I was there 7 months, and I got laid off. And minicomputer.
What were you working on at EAI?
Minicomputers.
You were designing logic?
Yeah, logic design. Part of the CPU. So EAI had a minicomputer, which mostly was sold as a part of hybrid machine. They had analog computers and the minicomputer, and they were doing the next generation of minicomputers that I was hired for.
Were there other opportunities that you could have had, or was that the only one?
It was just the ideal thing for me to be doing. I had a job offer from IBM. Maybe I should tell that story also.
Sure.
I had a job offer from IBM also at the time.
We all did at that time.
And so I didn't accept IBM job offer. I went to the smaller EAI in New Jersey, and then I got laid off at EAI 7 months later, 8 months later. So I reapplied to IBM for the job, and IBM sent me a letter that I still have saved 48 years later. It said that I was not eligible for a job at IBM for life because I had turned them down without sufficient explanation. Why didn't I accept this job the year before? They made me an offer. I said I wasn't coming. They sent me a letter saying, "Please explain why aren't you coming?" And I ignored that letter. And so so when I reapplied a year later, they remembered.
You had a file on you.
They had a file on me. They had a dossier on me. They remembered, and they said I was not eligible for. And I said, "Oh my God!" IBM was 80% of the industry back then.
Yeah.
And I'm not eligible for a job at IBM ever. And but my boss, Ron Heatott,
he was at EAI.
Yeah, he was my boss at EAI. So he had gone down to SEL.
Did he get laid off as well?
Well, we all got laid off. The whole thing was being shut down, right? The whole minicomputer was being shut down, and so he accepted the job at SCL, Systems Engineering Labs in Fort Lauderdale, and so I called him up. He said, "Yeah, come on down. We'll have a job for you." So I went down, there. And SCL again, was a mini-computer company, doing real-time machines and mostly selling to NASA, if I remember right, real-time. But by that time, the digital had emerged as a winner, or was emerging as a winner, with PDP-11. Mm-hmm. And and then of course there was a Data General which had emerged as a number 2 player. So all these mini computer companies we had all over, they were dozens and dozens of them, right? If I remember right.
Low barriers to entry.
Well, yeah, there was no dominant player, and everybody thought they could do it. IBM was up there on the mainframes, and so SCL got in trouble, as you know, right? And SCL, I was there maybe another 7-8 months, if that long. I got laid off second time. SCL, because SCL was not able to sustain its business either. And I thought maybe I'll go back and work for a larger company, and I went to work for RCA, RCA Computer Systems. And RCA was also in trouble because their pitch was 10% better for 10% less. IBM compatible mainframes, which were 10% better than IBM machines, but they were for 10% less. And when IBM announced IBM 370, which was sort of 40% better than the IBM 360 for same price, the RCA went down overnight. We heard on the NBC News, that RCA will be shutting down, before the end of the year. This is around September. So you knew that end of the year, your job is done. And we didn't hear from RCA itself for another month inside the company that they are shutting down. After hearing that on the news, the chairman of the board of RCA, was also the chairman of the board of NBC. NBC and RCA were both part of the RCA, and he announced that they were pulling out of computer business, and so that was in the late 71, and I came out west here, and so I was in the valley in late 71.
Before you talk about your arrival in the valley, I'd love to hear about what impact this had. 2 quick layoffs in succession, 3. And then the company closing down.
Well, so it shaped you up. Shaped you up because none of my friends were being laid off. Especially the ones who went to work for IBM. And they would make fun of me. Because I turned IBM down. Which was sort of unthinkable for them. Why would anybody turn IBM down? So it shaped you up as a person because is it me? Am I making the wrong choices? And you don't understand the business side of it fully. You don't understand the consolidation taking place in the bat. I was only 24, 25 at the time, and I had just gotten married also. As a matter of fact, we had our wedding reception at Jeff's house.
That's wonderful.
And in spring of 71, and so I was wasn't sure, but young, you're not worried about your life. Masters in double E. I'm sure there's a job for me in America.
I have. Before you get off that topic, I have a unusual aspect to your career here. As a cerebral, engineering, shy person, you didn't have a lot of physicality to you. But in order to have a party at our house, you helped me to build the fence in the backyard with manual labor, pounding stakes and nailing
that probably was first time in my life probably I did that.
And probably you got some blisters doing it. Sorry for the interruption. Let's go ahead.
71 was also a very bad time for U.S. If you remember, there was a very big recession. Vietnam War had gone horribly around. And there was a lack of confidence in U.S. Space program was having problems, and so U.S., which was at the top of its game in '67, confident, was sort of not so confident in '71. And especially on the East Coast, which is where the center of gravity was. So coming out west, it was a different world. You came from Fort Lauderdale to California, the mood is upbeat. We own the world. None of the problems that that you felt on the East Coast were being seen as problems here. This whole new industry was emerging, and it was a very, very big change for me as an individual. But it suited me just fine because here I come here and I love logic design, system design, and jobs are plentiful. You could get a new job every week if you wanted to.
As you looked at the landscape with all this new opportunity, what were the options that you considered in terms of the different companies and teams and projects?
So having been laid up 3 times, I did some introspection and I said, I wasn't smart enough to see these companies were not good companies to work for. They were in trouble before I got there, or they will be in trouble soon. And I also told myself that nobody will ever lay me off ever again in my life. I should own my own career. So I became pretty much expert in resume and job finding. I had my resume up to date, and I was sending them out and interviewing and have a job. Always, I didn't want to be caught without a job. So I was always interviewing and always had a job. I went all over U.S. Any company, in anywhere in U.S., I'll send my resume. But I didn't want to be, laid up 4th time. And it was 2-3 years before I started to feel, no, nobody's gonna ever lay me off again. I'm very good at what I do. But for 2-3 years, I was always sending resume out and always, getting job offers and turning them down. So it was maybe 74, 75 when I started to feel very good about myself. At
Well, when you got to California, you must have. Did you have more than one job offer there?
I had a job offer with a company in Southern California called SDS, Scientific Data Systems. And
ultimately, they got in trouble too.
They got acquired by Xerox, and they got in trouble very quickly after that one. And so I had to choose between SDS and this job here at Cinder in Sunnyvale, and I like this area better than Southern California. That was the primary reason I took the job here. But also there was a little bit of job stability built into Cinder job. It was a defense contractor, and they had a new contract. They had just one, so you knew they had a stable job for at least 2 years.
They were making simulators for the Apollo program, weren't they?
They were making simulators for Air Force, Navy, NASA, private airlines. So almost any and all planes, being built, they had simulators for them. And I got hired when the world was changing from analog simulation to digital simulation. And I was one of the first set of engineers hired to make that transition happen. And so it was a pretty massive change for the company. And even though I was a junior engineer, I emerged very quickly as the linchpin, because we built this massive pipeline systems to implement algorithms in hardware, complex algorithms hardware, and it was just the natural thing for me to be doing. So I would design systems with 200, 300, 400 boards in it. Massive amount of memory, 64 megabyte of memory.
At that time, that was a lot.
Back then was a massive amount of memory. And these systems are running at 10 megahertz speed, which is 100 nanosecond cycle. And so pumping the data through at a massive rate, to implement a real-time motion of the plane and what you will see out of the windows and what you will see on the radar screen, required pumping data through these pipelines. And within 2-3 years, by 1975, I was the system engineer on these complex machines, and I had become asset, as per one of the Air Force generals, because some of these machines I was doing for them, they were just loving it. And
I'll interject another personal note here. It was at that time when I finally left SEL in 74.
74, yeah.
No, I'm sorry, it was 76. and among other places that I considered was Singer Link at your recommendation. And I came close to taking that job. Instead, I went to the semiconductor industry. But I was impressed that you, as a younger guy than I, had achieved pretty high status over there at Singer Link.
Oh yeah, Singer Link. Yeah, I became. So again, they were changing, right? Yeah, they needed to set up systems. These are the early days of proms and ROMs and PALs, and they needed to be programmed, and they needed to So I took upon myself to set up systems. And with my background in Fortran programming and my hardware background, I became very good at setting pretty complex systems for them, so it would sustain these complex machines without massive effort. And I also learned very quickly when you have this large machine, how do you debug this machine? You have to build in diagnostics. And I specialized in building in diagnostics, self-testing. How do you make these machines self-test and report they're doing well? So there was a very wide, and there was nobody to mentor me. There was nobody to teach me, because I was one of the first engineers they hired. So it was an open field, and it's like
How did you get that job?
Why?
Yeah. How did they decide you were it?
I don't know that part, because you'll have to ask somebody over there. But they were transitioning from analog to digital, so they were looking for digital engineers. So I was a generic digital engineer, But within 3-4 years, I would spend 15, 16 hours a day at job, because it was really fun. I was doing things way beyond anybody of any of my Trohart was doing at the time. I was setting up very complex systems. I was learning new stuff. And by the way, I also went through all the early bird programs at Santa Clara University through the whole phase, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. I took all the courses in compiler design, database design, eventually in business, and also in law. I was taking all the courses available at Santa Clara University, and then eventually some courses at Stanford also. So there was the supplemental education I was taking to broaden my thinking and base. But it was mostly on my own. This thing needs to be done. Nobody in the company is even aware that needs to be done. I have time.
Were there any professors at the schools you went to at that time that influenced you more greatly than others?
The early modern early bird programs, professors don't pay much attention to you, right? And this is between 7 and 9. No, at the end it was me just going for it. Thing needed to be done. Nobody in the management is aware of it, and I know if if you don't set up a prompt burning system, you will be in trouble very quickly. If you don't set up this, you'll be in trouble. And so I will set them up. And so maybe a story. So 76, things are working well, and somebody, I think general manager asked, how do we do this stuff? How do we burn prompts? How do we make sure they are done right? Nobody in his staff knew. How do we do it? And the guy who was in charge for the area where this stuff needed to be done, he came and asked his people, how do we do it? And eventually somebody says, well, this guy in the engineering came and set it up for us. And and he trained us how to run the system. So this guy calls me up, he says, why did you do it? I said, it needed to be done. He said, it wasn't your job, it was my job. And I said, oh. And he said, you shouldn't be doing the stuff that you're not assigned to you. I said, okay. I went and shut the system down. I said, okay, I'll put the system, I'll put the plug on that one. The whole company came to screeching halt. And all of a sudden, nothing is working in the company. And so I didn't, general manager said, what happened here? So this guy comes and says, we need your help. I said, no, it wasn't my job. I wasn't supposed to be doing it. And I made him really get on his hands and knees to bed, because he was about to be fired. And so after that one, nobody ever mess with me.
It's a great story.
Yep, I had become very self-driven, self-sustaining, forward-looking guy, and that really prepared me for life very, very well. By the time again, another story. So there was a change of management up in New York, the headquarters. I was with Lint here, and Lint was based in Binghamton, New York. And the new general manager came out here, and he didn't know what was going on, what's power politics here. And he looked at all of us, and he said, there are going to be changes here. You guys have been, had too much freedom, blah, blah, blah. And that's the first time I said, he's probably right. There are going to be changes here. What am I doing here? And I'm limited here because nobody here is teaching me anything. There's opportunities. I'm making money, but $75,000 a year is not bad money. But this valley is now becoming this is 78, 79. This valley is becoming different valley. Lots of startups. Earlier, there were a handful of startups, but now there's a startup almost every day. And why not me? That thing started around that time. And this one person, I'll use a pseudonym because he's still around. Went and started a company. He used to work for me. I trained him, and I saw his name in the press as a founder of one of the companies. I said, David Jackson. David Jackson is an entrepreneur, somebody I trained, somebody who worked for me. What's the matter with me? Why am I stuck here? And he started one of the microcomputer company here in the valley, and it just totally destabilized me as an individual. Why not me? I don't speak well. I'm immigrant. I say, well, David Jackson is immigrant. He was from England. He's also immigrant. So after that one, I just would not barely thought of not being an entrepreneur, and it was just a matter of time. Nothing mattered after that one. I have to go to see if I'm any good.
So you went directly from Singer Link to being an entrepreneur?
No. So Cinderlink was a defense contractor, and there was a commercial world out there. Cinderlink wasn't using microprocessors, wasn't using DRAMs, and all of a sudden I felt that mill spec parts, mill standard mill spec parts. All of a sudden you realize very quickly you are being sort of not part of the mainstream in the valley, and defense world. So I thought I need to jump from defense into commercial world, and very quickly discovered nobody would hire me. I interviewed maybe 50 companies, nobody would hire me. 9 years at defense contractor, 10 years, you're a lifer. How can you be any good? Because we commercial people don't think much of defense people, and I thought of myself as the best of the best, and nobody would hire me. So I took a job at Zilog, with a big pay cut, 40% pay cut. And because
When was that?
1980. Big pay cut. I took a job at Zilog, and this guy looked at me. The manager, he says, why should I take risk with you? You have been at Link for 9 years. Sort of living. I mean, he was pretty insulting, but I set it up and I took the job. Within 6 months, I was at the top of the world. Their computers didn't work, their systems were chaotic. They had this mini computer and a network, just didn't work, just wasn't reliable. Computers will crash. Every machine they produced had a different characteristic. So I came in as a hardware manager, and within 6 months I cleaned up the act. Machines became reliable, network became reliable. And all of a sudden, again, this company is starting to absolutely depend upon me, being driven. And
you were working on systems level stuff for the back room, or were you working on products they were selling? The
products they were selling, which were unreliable, and customers were very unhappy. I came in as a head of the hardware engineering, They had this thing called ZNet. They had this machine called MCZ machine, which was a Z80 based CPM machine, and they had this. It was full system level stuff, but it was very unreliable. Systems were flaky, and software will run on this machine and will not run on that machine. And I discovered very quickly that they had timing problems on the bottom, which I fixed the whole thing within 6 months. The whole thing was in a different, and that's when I said I'm ready for the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there at Zilog 6-7 months, and maybe a year, and another 6 months after that one to think through my plan. And
for whom did you work there?
Who
did you work for there?
There was this guy by the name of Dutch Schwartz, who was the computer system group, in charge. If you remember, Zilog was owned by Excelan.
At that time, yeah.
At that time, and Excelan was going to take on IBM, and they were buying companies left and right. And there was this guy by the name of Manny Fernandez.
Mm-hmm.
He was the president of Zilog. Nobody ever saw him. Nobody ever knew what he does. Because he was out there, and so the guy who ran the systems division, who hired me, Dutch Schwartz, he left right after I made things worked. He left to do his own startup, and the software guy working with me, and all that. This group left Judy Astron,
Mm-hmm.
and Eric Benamu, and Bill. What was Bill's last name? They left to start a company called Bridge Network, right? So I was hired to replace Judy, who was the hardware engineering manager, before me. So they left to start the Bridge, and they left this mess behind that I cleaned up. And then after I got done there, I said, networking is something which is happening. IBM PC was announced in 71, and then Ethernet SPET was announced in 71, and so there was this thing in the air that world is about to change. Mm-hmm. The personal computers, networking will happen, servers will happen. And when the IBM Digital and Xerox announced Ethernet, they also announced that chips will be available in 3 to 4 years. Intel said their chip will be ready in about 3 to 4 years, and Digital said their chip will be ready in about 4 to 5 years. And I looked at the specs. I said, this is easy stuff. I can implement this thing today. I sat down and designed an Ethernet board. If you remember, we used to do that on the drafting board.
Mm-hmm.
Drafting board. I designed. This design should work, and once I became very convinced this design should work, we left to start.
You were still at Zilog at the time?
This design should work, off, ready, off the shelf chips, no special chips, some PALs and prompts which were available that I needed to program. But that design, that worked, and I said, if I made this design work on multi-bus, which was the original bus that we used, and a unibus and Q-bus, and I will have a system that works across the different computers. And then I made it work for the IBM PC bus, and I made it work for the Apple Mac. So we had a very same design. We were able to shoehorn into all these machines. And that was the basis of Excelan. Excellence in local area networking. And we were the first company to offer the heterogeneous networking at full speed, bus speed, for PC to units to batches. And that was our main message. Come to us if you have a PC Unix machine, batch, we can do file transfers, we can do virtual terminals. And so Ethernet specs I implemented into hardware because of my senior days. I was a magician with hardware. But in networking, it's all about software. And Digital had their .NET, they announced, and Xerox announced their XNS, Xerox Network Systems, and Intel adopted OSI, ISO protocols, and none of them was really out there in real world functioning well, and clearly they were all proprietary to them. And I said, if I was a user now, what do I need? I need to do file transfers from here to there to here. And I looked around, and TCP/IP was being used by the Department of Defense for that purpose alone. It was a multi-system protocol, and the problem with TCP/IP was it was designed for the slow haul wide area networks. 90s.
They were all telephone based.
They were all telephone based, and they were error prone networks. So it was designed as a heavy duty protocol to recover from errors, and it was slow. It didn't have to be fast because the underlying network was slow. So there was this belief that TCP/IP is totally unsuited for this high performance, high speed, reliable Ethernet. And I said, maybe if underlying network is fast and reliable, all those error recovery routines probably won't be needed, and probably software can be tuned up to become a little faster. Shouldn't be slow. So I was the first one to adopt that. And as a matter of fact, Judy Astron, who was at Bridge, looked at me and said, in one of the conference, you have to be brain dead to put TCP/IP or Ethernet, because it's like putting a horse in front of a finely tuned car. I said, okay, all right, but it does work, it does transfer, and it turned out to be, not that slow, not that bad, So TCP/IP worked really, really well. So we were the only people in 1984, 85 who offered you a solution, who could transfer files at full speed between the PCs, Unix machines, and all sorts of minicomputers, both batches and RF, PDP machines, and eventually to the mainframes and also to the Apple Macintoshes.
I'd like to go back, just if I may, to the time when you were founding the company. I believe it was 1982.
Yeah.
You've talked about sort of the technical solutions that you were bringing to the users. What was the time that catalyzed you to actually found the company, when you sort of realized what your business model might be, and the founding of the company?
Yeah. So maybe a story around the founding of the company. So by 1981. December, I was sure we have a design that would work, to implement Ethernet protocols.
What made you sure?
Because so Intel had a two-board solution, and somebody else had a solution, and so we built a network where we used Intel on one side, and I'm trying to remember who, maybe it was 3-Tom. Maybe 3-Tom had a board, and our boards, and we made them work very easily on a 4 or 5 machine network.
3-Com was a spin-off from largely from Zilog.
3-Tom was,
among others.
Well, 3-Tom was to some extent from Zilog, but mostly from Park. From Xerox Park.
From Xerox Park.
Yeah. So when Zilog was doing ZNet, that I was fixing, Zilog had hired 3-Tom to do the Ethernet designs for them to replace ZNet.
I see.
So it was a contract, that never totally. They got paid to do the work, but Zilog was falling apart. So
they never implemented it.
So Bob Metcalf left with that design to do. So Bob Metcalf had the plan which was similar to the plan that we implemented at Excelan. He was going to do the boards. He had a multi-bus board, and he was going to do all the boards for all the machines. But then the IBM PC got announced, and so they dumped everything and focused on IBM PC only as this. So PC to PC communication. So 3-Tom did that one. But once the design became very clear, right? So we thought, we will start it up, and ran into the problems of funding. the VCs will look at the plan and say, we love what you're doing, but you guys are engineers, there's no business guy in the team here. And after about 50 VCs telling you that, it becomes quite clear there's no white man in the team. You Indians are in the back room. All 3 founders were Indians, and there was also a fear that sales and marketing and finance is not an Indian expertise, and even if you are able to do it, you will have to hire the people, and they may not work for Indians. The tradition of Indian bosses was not quite there yet, right? So John Bosch at Bay Partners looked at me and said, I love the plan you guys have. Why don't you go hire some business people to help you implement? I said, sir, if we want to do it ourselves, that's the dream. And he says, well, Indians have not been entrepreneurs. And then he says loudly, why not? Why haven't they been entrepreneurs? And he says, maybe it's time to try one. John Bosch says, maybe it's time to try one. And then he looked at us and says, tell you what, I'll make you an offer, and you have 15 minutes to decide.
He said this, or you did?
He said that. I'll make you an offer, and you have 15 minutes to decide.
Just like a Shark Tank, huh?
But his offer was $2 million for half the company. And I thought that was a very fair offer. A very fair offer, sir. No problem, we'll take it. We'll take it, and within 50, we didn't need 15 minutes. We didn't need 15 seconds. And so his $2 million offer for 50% company. That was pretty standard offer in the valley by the way at the time. The offer used to be $2.5 million for 50% of the company, and then 20% pool is set up. So 40-40-20 was a model. 40% owned by the investors, 40% owned by the founders, 20% for the employees, and that's the model that we have. And so John Bosch, by the way, did very, very well. At the end, he made over 100 times his money, and he used to brag that he discovered Indians in the valley. So by the time we got funded, so there was this company called Vast Computer Company, or Victory Computer System. So this guy, I'm trying to remember his name. He was the head of sales at Altos Computers, and he made $20, $30, $40 million. So he left Altos, and he wanted to do one of the Unix hot boxes. He wanted to build a Unix machine, and he hired Dutch Schwartz, my old boss, to design the Unix machine. And Dutch Schwartz called me up and says, hey, we need an Ethernet board for our machine. Can you do Ethernet board for us, our machine? And I had this design that I had done, modular design that I thought insert in any machine. I said, So he gave us a $100,000 contract, and we said we can do that in 3 months. And he said, if you can do it in 3 months, I'll give you 150. But I need definitely need in 6 months. So we got $150,000 from him. So they had this machine. And by the way, by the end of 82, 83, there were about 35, 40 companies doing the Unix hot boxes, including Intel. Multibus, CT8K, or 286 from Intel, or there was National Processor, if I remember right, and Sun was there, Apollo was there. There were about 35, 40 companies, and we had about 30 of them as our OEMs. We had everybody, except.
How did you get that? What did you do for sales to get into those companies?
OEM sales, we had an OEM sales guy. And there were very few people offering what we were offering, and most of these people weren't serious. They did chatbots. I have Ethernet. And so we were a cheap way to chatbots. But for what happened to us, the Sun and Apollo emerged as winners, and we didn't have those two guys as our customers. The other 33 ones we had they weren't giving much revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So NCR was a customer. Mastercam was a customer. So we're doing $5 million in revenue, and I'm saying, why we have almost all the potential customers, and there's not much revenue. And so we were in big trouble. We were in very big trouble because revenues were not materializing, and because these guys had to sell their machines to have to create volume for us, and they were losing out to Sun and Apollo. So that's when I decided to go direct, to the consumers, and so we ended up packaging our solution for IBM PC, for Macintosh, for standard Unix machines, and mini computers, and sold as a TCP/IP nodes, to the consumers directly, and that turned out to be a very good decision.
Through what channel?
There were no channels because in this today's parlance, you will say online. We advertise heavily. Operators are standing by, 100% money back guarantee. And so it was. So maybe another point I want to make here. So we sold, over the phone by advertising heavily, and the pricing became a big issue. So there was no models for software pricing out there. Hardware, it costs you $200 to build the board. You price it at $1,000, and give customer 50% discount and sell at $500, and you have 60% margin. That was pretty standard practice, right? Everybody wanted 50% volume discount. Software, how do you price software? And so we had TCP/IP software for IBM PC, for Unix machines, for micro batches, for batches, for PDP machines, for mainframes. So my partner was, then he had priced everything at $60 for software, $60 per copy. That's what we were charging the OEMs, and that's what he thought we'll charge the end users. And the math just didn't work. So he got fired, by the way, when the company was in trouble, and my partner got fired. By the board, and I became the man. And so overnight I said, I'm going to raise prices.
So you had split the responsibilities at Excelan?
Yeah.
You did hardware, you did sales?
I did all the engineering work, and he was selling and marketing. We were sort of co-CEOs, but he was a front CEO. He was seen as a CEO, but I was the bathroom guy. So once he got fired, I took over everything. So overnight, I raised the prices tenfold, from $60 to $600. And my VP of sales was pretty upset. He says, floppy disk, how can you charge $600 for that one? And I said, let's see. And the prices start. And then I said, I messed up. Prices. Nobody, not one customer objected. Then I started to look around. I says, digital sells .NET, which is comparable solution, to us. How much do they charge? And I discovered Digital is charging $30,000 for a board and .NET software. And in my world, that was $2,000 for the board, $600 for the thin part, $600. I said, no, that doesn't make sense. We need to raise prices. And I said, we are not digital. We don't have the brand, and but we'll sell them at half the price of digital. So we'll sell this price at $14,995. And everybody around the table looked at me and says, sure. And I said, money back guarantee. If this thing doesn't work, we'll give you money back. And that price stuck. And we sold lots of boards on batches. If you do the math, the prices, software prices were now.
Your customers had to be companies that were able to put that kind of money out. They weren't individuals, right?
This is all companies, but no individuals are buying machines. No individuals are buying. See, everybody in every company had a couple of PCs, handful of PCs, had a couple of Unix machines, and a big digital machine in the back doing number crunching, right? PC. This is now 82, 83. PCs are still a novelty, right? All these Unix machines are being bought from all over. So there was not a massive volume out there. So I did the math at one time. The number of all the computers sold by non-PC people, IBM, Digital, and they were less than 50,000 computers sold by that time. And IBM had sold about maybe 4,000 of them, 5,000 of them, and about 25,000 were sold by digital, smaller machines. And I did the math. If you have a VATS and if you have a Unix machine and 10 PCs, you need me.
Mm-hmm.
And because besides me, there's no easy way to transfer files between. There's no easy way to do the PC to VATS, and so if Disagreement is charging 30,000, you'll rather buy from me at $14,995, $15,000. So those machines sold well, $200 a month. And that's good money, and 90% plus margin, right? And then I priced the same solution for Unix machines at $9,995. Digitals are main computers, and I priced the same solution for the micro watches and micro, super micros at $5,000. So all of a sudden prices are matched with
It's all the same product.
Same product, same software, same product. And same product was being sold for IBM PC for $2,500. And the IBM PC, because those are the prices which were sort of comparable to the. That price to the market, as it is to the to my trust, and so I learned very early on here that you price stuff to whatever the market will bear, and of course by 85, 86 we were doing extremely well, profitable, growing nicely, all this thing we had. So we had transitioned from being an OEM supplier to the end user supplier, and the OEMs now will come back to us and buy fully packaged solution from us, as it is just raw technology. So we'll give them the discount of the list.
Would it be sold under your brand or theirs at the time?
I didn't care. Siemens came and bought from us, and they made us sign the papers that we will never tell the world that Siemens stuff is our stuff. And so once we became popular, Siemens came back and asked for the permission to announce to the world that their stuff is our stuff. Because by 86, the TCP/IP implementation from Excelan was the standard TCP/IP. You had to work with us to be accepted as a TCP/IP implementation. So Eric Schmidt at Sun, who was the head of the engineering, he and I used to sponsor a thing called Connectathon, which will be sort of networked at trade shows, where everybody's booth will be networked, so they could talk to each other to demonstrate, that TCP/IP is fully interoperable. So Eric and I used to sponsor that for 2, 3, 4 years, and this had Dan Lynch. I don't know if you ever heard of Dan Lynch.
I've heard of him.
Dan Lynch was the guy who came out of UCLA. See, TCP/IP and Internet's early stuff came out of UCLA. So when it got accepted that they were going to launch the network, the ARPANET, so he was the guy who took the tape out of UCLA and went and installed at Oxford, AT&T, Princeton, Berkeley, the original nodes of the Internet. And so I hired him as a consultant to help us in 85, 86. And he did a show called, he organized a show called Interop. Interop was the show around interoperability of the TCP/IP and Ethernet. And so it was sort of, with my help, Dan Lynch became a pretty high-profile guy because he was the original investor in all these internet startups in 95, 94, 95. I mean 92, 93, I should use word. And so I, by late 80s, early 90s, I was Mr. TCP/IP in the Valley, because we were the only people till about 91, 92 who had bet the whole company on TCP/IP. People were still waiting for the OSI, Intel especially, and IBM also, and Digital had started to say that they will abandon .NET to do OSI. And the OSI was going to be the next future. And I kept saying, not going to happen. All these machines are not talking to each other. They are doing very reliably. People will have to rip up a working solution to put this new stuff. It never happened. And so I used to give speeches that TCP/IP is it. World is not ruled by TCP/IP because it's evolving, getting better, faster. In every respect. Why would anybody change it?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you essentially were doing all the marketing as well then.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Who would pay money for it?
Pricing it to the market and the users.
Yeah, we had sold about 1 million machines before the world internet was ever used. So if you remember, most of these machines were talking to each other on LANs on campuses. And so it was a large number of machines talking to each other, and then this company Cisco came along with a router which will bridge this LAN to that LAN. So if you are a large company like GM, you have campuses across the country, they could make your local campuses to a national campus. And so Cisco brought the WAN with the TCP/IP mindset. And initially they had a multi-protocol routers, but then became TCP/IP routers. And along the way, somebody said, we can have this private network starting to each other. So there was no organized body which said, let's do the internet. LANs became, from buildings to campuses, to nationwide, and then there was this group called, I'm trying to remember the name. So why don't we have a peer endpoint where we can exchange traffic between different companies' LANs, and so they set up these POPs, peer endpoints, and all of a sudden you could send stuff from me, company ABC, to somebody else, and this by 93, 94, stuff was easily being transferred between the companies. Before that, if you are a company A and you needed to send to somebody, so you had to find your way to Berkeley, and then those guys had to find some way to this basic backbone network. So the address used to be, we were one of the main nodes. I'm at Joe at ABC at XYZ at this at Excelan at Berkeley. Your address will be with this long, and then I want to send this to this guy, blah blah blah.
Who will forward it?
And it was overnight transfer, right? File transfers and email was overnight transfer. Maybe half day. So there was this offering time. Hey, why don't we offer each person a name and a domain name, and routing will be supplied by this service. I think I'm trying to remember. That was group, and once that happened, he says, why do we need to have anybody know who's where? Why don't we have this domain name service which sort of connects people to each other? So by 93, 94, you were able to transfer stuff, but we were the main underlying technology.
Were you following any of the ARPANET stuff? Because they were big on TCP/IP over wide geographies.
No, that's where we started. We took the original ARPANET software and commercialized it. We didn't implement. We didn't build TCP/IP from ground zero. We took the ARPANET software, which was available in public domain, and we commercialized it, and we made it happen on all the machines. So we were. It's like the open source stuff now. We were the original open source guys, who were selling the TCP/IP on all the machines, and and fully supporting it.
For the record, could you talk a little bit more about when you say we, who were the co-founders that were really the prime movers for your company?
So,
and your roles, your respective roles.
So there were three of us in the original team. Came out of Zilog, Dr. Inder Mohansen, and Dr. Naveen Jain, and me, a non-doctor, but hardware wizard, Kanwal Rekhi. And so we started in 82. We started up in December of 81. That's why we did the entire operation. But 82 December is when we got funded. But before that, we had done the board, we had done We sold to Victory Computers. We had first paying customer in Platts computer. I don't know if you remember that one. It was right here down the street.
Down the street here.
Yeah, and Platts. So 3 founders, and Indra got fired by the board in 84, 85. Because of the pricing, going nowhere, over promising, under delivering. Company was in trouble, and I took over as a CEO. January, February of 85, and by end of 85, middle of 86, we were doing really well because I changed from OEM to the end user company.
Doesn't sound like that was an easy leadership transition.
No, it was not easy.
Do you
It
want to
was
say
not
more
easy
about
leadership. It was not easy at all. As a matter of fact, it was very painful because company was out of money almost, and the board fired in there, and they didn't. They said, have this and don't spend much money. Make the money last. And I said, well, you don't spend the money. If I don't do what I want to do, I'll be out of money within 7-8 months. So I ignored the board. I said, what are they going to do? Fire me? Because they can't fire me because there's nobody left. And so it was 6-7 months of very hard relations. But once the money started to flow, once I changed prices. First time I changed prices to $600, all of a sudden there was a revenue jump, and they took notice. Maybe there's something here. And then when I started to change the prices for the other machines, all of a sudden we are now doing well, and we are not burning cash anymore. And so I went from being the team went from being bummed to me being he's not that bad to he's very good. So maybe I should tell you the rest of the story. So by 86, we are doing extremely well. Company is profitable, growing very nicely. We're going to go public.
That was going to be our next question about the road to IPO.
We're going to go public. So now, John Bosch, the guy who gave us the money, he comes and talks to me. He says, this thing is worth a lot of money now. You have done a superb job. Company is profitable, growing nicely. We should take it public. I'm very good. He says, we need to make a CEO here. What do you mean CEO? I'm the CEO. He says, no. You are the operating guy. We need to have a CEO who looks like a CEO on the Wall Street. There's no Wall Street Indian CEOs, he says. I said, yeah. So he said, he asked me, what do you want to do? You want to get rich or you want to be a CEO? I want to be I want to get rich. I want to be a CEO also. But he says, what if the Wall Street doesn't accept you as a CEO, and the IPO fails? What happens? And so I said, well, I don't want that to happen. So we brought a CEO in. We brought a CEO in from HP. By a man by the name of Dick Moore, and he looked like a CEO, 6'8". The HP guys, right? All the HP guys were 6 foot. David Packer didn't promote anybody unless you were 6'5" and above, right? That was the HP model. He ran the HP's calculator division. The HP 35, HP 45 out of Oregon. He came on board, and we went public. I was made chairman and did the IPO. But he turned out to be super dud. He turned out to be super dud. By the time we hit the road, we knew he was bad. He couldn't even tell the story straight. But numbers kept happening. Then he got in trouble. In today's word, sexual harassment. He ended up having an affair with one of the employees, and the board fired him. Right after the IPO, board fired him, and like 3 months after the IPO, I became the CEO, and I stayed CEO till the very end. So this I got fired from being CEO, not because we were doing poorly, but company was.
You weren't tall enough.
So it's. I don't think those issues are there anymore. The Indians have done well in the valley, right? We have enough examples of that now.
You were part of that first generation, right?
Yeah.
That were real. I mean, there was Suhas Patil with Cirrus Logic, and you, and you were the first. Is that right? The first.
Yeah, the first one in the valley here. To
American.
take the public.
Yeah, take it public on NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Were you part of the roadshow team?
Oh,
you
yeah.
must have been.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dick wouldn't have been able to answer anything.
Yeah.
Did you feel that there were people responding to you differently as not being this kind of CEO they expected, or was your story just
No.
spoke for its own?
So by the time we hit the roadshow, it was very clear there wouldn't have been any issue. When we fired Ditmore, there was no issue at all. There was no issue. People knew by that time I was the one who built the company.
What was the date of the IPO?
IPO happened in February of 87.
87.
Yeah. And April 27th, I mean, it's February 27th. Yeah, you never forget those things, right? And
tell us about that day. Tell us about what you remember about that day.
So
when you say you never forget.
So several things I remember, all right? So the IPO process is a very intense process. And you're in the middle of all this decision making. 2 or 3 stories I'll tell you. So we have done the prospect, and we are doing the public the night before. So we said $9 to $12 on the prospectus. I thought that was terrible. Okay, it wasn't a very exciting number. The night before the banter, comes and talks to me and did more and says, we are in trouble. I don't think this IPO is going to take off tomorrow. We need to lower the price down to 8. And Dit says, yeah, let's do it. I said, no, we're not going to do it. Let's postpone the IPO. Let's postpone the IPO. We don't need to do it tomorrow. We don't need the money. We have the money in the bank. We are doing well. And all of the banter stated back. He says, no, we can make it happen at 9. I said, no, 9. I'm not doing it at 9. You're going to take it at 12, or we're going to postpone it. So we went at 12 next morning and opened at 18. And I told, see, this is when you don't need the money, you're doing well. You don't need to do public. The bankers' interest is very simple. Their customers are out there, all the funds. They want to sell them a cheap stock. They do one deal with you, they sell them over and over, right? So I realized very quickly that bankers do this to everybody. Let's lower the price because and but this time I was absolutely shot at Alex Brown that I was so firm. If you're not going to do it at the top of the range, let's not do it. And then I discovered later they had the whole damn thing sold at 12. They built the boat, right? They built the boat, and the boat was built 3 times, 4 times over demand at 12. And he was just trying to sweeten the deal for his other guys. So that was one thing where I stood firm and and Dick wavered right away. Let's lower the price. I mean it was amazing that he how quickly he folded his hand. So there were situations on the road where he will start to wander off. Talk about the reliability of washing machines and dryers as it is. As it is. Reliability of our solution. So the IPO was very successful. And we never looked back. Our numbers stayed very very good.
What were your revenues going at?
So when we went
Going
public, the day we went public, the revenues were $22 million and profits of $3 million.
And what was the total raise?
We raised. The company was priced at $12, $120 million, and we raised about $10 million. See, if you can multiply all those numbers by a factor of 10 now to reach what will happen today. in $22 million revenue back then, it would be $200 million of revenue now. And $3 million of profit would be $30 million of profit, right? So we are doing about 15%.
So what do you do with that money?
So a couple of stories, and so we are in trouble with it did 6 months, 3 to 6 months after the IPO. So there was this company in Walnut Street that I wanted to acquire, and they had this technology which made the Apple Talk work on Ethernet, and so there was a very easy way to connect. Our solution was to put our board into the Macintoshes, and he came up with a solution. This time had a solution where you connect the Apple Talk straight into our network. So I wanted to acquire them, and I went and talked to them. Did a deal at $6 million. We'll acquire them at $6 million. The founder, sort of spent weeks, and then he went and talked to Dick. He says, "Oh, this guy," he tells Dick board, "This guy is raping him. I'm raping him. They're worth a lot more. They should be worth about $10 million." So he does a deal with Dick at $8.5 million. After he has shook hands with me at $6 million. And Dick comes and says, he was very unhappy, so I had to give him more. I said, we don't have to do the deal. We don't have to do the deal. They are making $500,000 in revenue. They are unfunded company, and they are going to do very well. So there was this issue, that you can't be wavering on the price. You can't be giving somebody more because he's unhappy, right, on the deal. And so we did the deal at $6 million. I didn't say if he shook hand with me, and if he doesn't want to do the deal at 6, we don't want to do a deal with him. He came back and said no, he wants to do the deal at 6. So we used a part of the cash there, but if you're profitable, you don't need cash from outside, right? The company was building cash as we were profitable. We did another acquisition after that one, before Microsoft and Novell came calling. They wanted to acquire both of us. They wanted to acquire us.
Individually, or were they partnering?
Well, they both offered partnerships. But see, I had the theory that both of them would need us. Both of them would need us real bad. Microsoft, I thought, especially would need us. Microsoft was very, very bad in technology. Which is they were good at PC. And they had this Windows solution. Windows 2, where 4 or 5 windows. If you switch from Windows 1 to Windows 2, you lose everything that you had in the other window, right? And especially if you are networking, when I switch my applications, I need to maintain my network connections on the other application. Otherwise, application will die. And we taught Microsoft how to maintain your state. There was this company called Quarterdat. I'm trying to remember the name of the Quarterdat. They had a product, which was competing with Windows, and it was very, very popular during the Windows 2 days. And we had made this their solution become very good. And we also had made if you are using a PC, you could use NetWare on one side, you could use batches on the other side, you could use the mainframe, and we will do the switch within our software. So I knew we had become a very good product for the average business, which was using NetWare and the mainframes and the batches. And Microsoft came telling, hey, can you give us the technology solution that you gave to Quarterdat? So we spent a lot of time with them to make their Windows maintain the state when they switch the untouched. And similar thing we were teaching Novell. Novell was Novell NetWare would take over the whole wire. If you put NetWare on that wire, nothing has to do on that wire. Wires. Ethernet was designed to have multiple protocols on the same line. Novell would not let you do that. We had to teach Novell how to do that too. How do you make help them change the NetWare? So I knew both of them would need us. We are technology rich, networking company, and so they, so when they started to date with us, each one said, "Don't work with the other." I said, that's not going to happen. We are independent company. We maximize our stuff, and so each of them.
Were you aware that you were ripe for acquisition?
Oh yeah. I was very sure. I was very sure they will. They acquire us.
Was that part of your long-range plan, is to get acquired?
You see, by that time, this is now 89, 90. By that time, I had become a lot more financial in my thinking. I knew these guys stood. They'll acquire you for a good premium over what you're making in the marketplace. I had no long-term thinking. As an individual, right? I was here to make money. I've done this thing, and So they both came, and I knew that either of them would do well, but I chose Novell, and that turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. Within a year after the merger, Novell gave us 50-60% premium over market to do the deal. Within a year, Novell went up tenfold. Was a start deal. So if you bought the shares in Excelan at the time of the IPO, you would have made 15 times, 16 times your money within 2 years after that one. And that's the reason John Bosch did very, very well, because he held the start through that merger with Novell. And so I ran Novell for 2 years. Novell CEO was very hands-off. Reynolds was very, very hands-off. So after the merger, I ran Novell for 2 years. And
Your title there was CTO, wasn't it?
I was a EVP, CTO. I was a member of the board, and I was part of the office of the president.
Ah.
So it was a very broad. See, Ray was not non-technical person. He was very hands-off. So he loved to have me drive the technology and parts. That was CTO, right? And I basically ran the company because, company had become very large and complex by that time, Novell, and we had started to become. We were doing. Excelan was doing at the time of merger with Novell. We were doing $60 million in revenue, and Novell was doing $200 million in revenue, and 18 months later, the combined company was doing close to about $1 billion in revenue, and was worth about $2.5 billion in the market, and so very rapid growth. Very complex product line now, because Novell went from being a server for PCs to connecting to batches to Unix machines to mainframes. Became very complex environment. So how do you evolve that? So I ran essentially Novell 91, 92, and 93 is when Novell got in trouble.
How'd that happen?
So Novell is a Utah company. Sort of Mormon company. And
were you physically based there?
I would travel to Utah 3 days a week. I never left here. But Novell had a very strong presence in the valley because of Excelan and another acquisition they had done. So maybe 40% of the employees were here in the valley, 60% were in Utah. But it was ran out of Provo, Utah. And Novell had a jet. I would go on Monday morning, come back on Wednesday evening, spend Thursday here, and go back on Friday morning, and come back on Friday night. So I spent 3 days a week there. So we acquired units from AT&T, after the merger. NetWare was file server. I said, let's do acquire units, and made that as a operating system for all these Intel-based machines. And we will have a application server and the file server. And Microsoft is desktop, and Microsoft wants to get into the back end with the NT, but we have this very reliable operating system. So we went and acquired the units from AT&T, but turned out the network guys hated Unix. They had always seen Unix as their enemy. Yeah, and especially Unix, which came out of New Jersey, and he's been run out of California. And I am running Novell, and they say I'm favoring Unix over NetWare. And so Ray started to say, hey, yeah, I need to put somebody from Novell, I mean from Utah, yeah, yeah, and so this big Utah, California, stuff happened, and they put this guy in charge of NetWare, I mean Unix, and eventually, it made him a part of the office of the president, and they just won't accept Unix as owned by Novell, even though we owned it, and that Unix NetWare fight started to tilt, and so I finally had to leave.
You left because you lost a technical battle?
No, I lost because it became very painful to stay. Yeah, we are doing well in the marketplace. We are at the top of the world, and we are fighting these nonsense battles inside.
Internally.
Yeah, I kept telling we own Unix. What do you mean Unix is the enemy? Yeah, it's our own stuff. Yeah, what is based in New Jersey, and what difference does that make? Yeah, and we set up a Unix development center in Utah also, but that wasn't enough for them. And Ray became sort of Ray would tell me, I got to take care of Utah people. I said, Ray, we are a public company. You need to take care of your shareholders. He said, no, Novell, I need to take care of Utah people. And eventually it became nonsense, and so we weren't talking business anymore. And so I started, I'm putting in the time and energy. It's not fun anymore. Yeah. So, I don't think they would have ever fired me, but I was at the board, and the rest of the board loved me, and the Wall Street loved me. By that time, I was very popular on Wall Street. But it wasn't fun anymore.
So you lost that love of it, and there was this conflict internally. How did that process end for you?
Yeah, you want to spend energy, fighting the battles out there. You don't want to spend energy fighting the battles inside, especially the battles inside which were nonsense battles, right? We tried to split the company into two divisions, Unix division and network division, but that wasn't enough, and it became Utah, California, Eventually, my sense was that this thing was decided by the Mormon Church. Mormon Church had decided that, if you remember, Novell bought the word perfect also.
I remember word perfect, sure.
Which was totally nonsense thing to do. So the church, in my opinion, had decided that Microsoft was the enemy of the church. Novell's future was software, and they have to defeat Microsoft. And I would say, no, Microsoft is a partner. They do the desktops, we do the servers, and customers love our solutions. No, Microsoft is evil. No more evil than anybody else, right? And so they decided to acquire the WordPerfect to get into desktop business, and then they acquired the DRDOS, DRI, right? Digital Research, to get the DOS into the company. So we don't want to be DOS, WordPerfect, and they acquired the Quattro Pro from Philippe Tran, right here, what was it? That company here in Scotts Valley.
In Scotts Valley,
Borland.
Borland.
And then they tried to merge with Lotus.
Yes.
Yeah, that was all been done to have a fight with Microsoft. And I kept saying, it's not our fight. We own networking. We own the server business. With Unix, our server business that's even stronger. Why do we have to fight with Microsoft? Microsoft, is not our enemy. But so all this nonsense became very, very painful.
Then Microsoft came up with Windows, and so much for DOS.
And Microsoft did put in Windows some code that if it's running on top of DR-DOS, trash. So which by the way, Microsoft paid $100 million in damages to Novell. So Novell was able to discover that Microsoft had drawn out of its way to make the Windows not work with the DR-DOS. So but Windows 3 took off. Windows 3 took off. Then Windows 95. The Windows. I think by the time I left Windows, it was still Windows 3.1, or 3.11 or whatever. And I had been working for a long time. And it's very hard to be number 2 guy in the companies when you've been number 1. And for a while I thought I was going to be running Novell. And once they decided, that wasn't the case, it became very painful.
So we were just talking about sort of the financial position that you were in and what you had done to help prepare for the IPO.
So NetWare had done very, very well. I mean, they started at the same place as I did at the same time in '82, and they had done 3 times as far, and they acquired us. So I was very aware that Ray had done 3 times better job than I had done at Excelan. Even though I was very proud of what I had done at Excelan, he acquired me, right? And so I thought I'd learn from him. And but I quite quickly discovered, he was in the PC business, which was much faster growing business than I was. He wasn't that good. He wasn't that sharp. His ideas were pretty wacky. So NetWare had this product, NetWare. They want to come up with this cheaper version of NetWare. Well, NetWare, what was the word they used? NetWare Star NetWare. Well, I need to charge more for number of users, advanced NetWare. So they had these 5 versions of NetWare. Just because he wanted to change prices on them. And he had 5 development teams doing 5 different NetWares with 5 different sets of sources, 5 different set of documents. And I sat there and I said, what's the difference between this stuff? Well, there is all NetWare. What interoperates? Interoperates. Why do I have different sources? Well, this is NetWare Lite. This is this. This is that. And just he was charging for 20 users roughly about $1,000 for NetWare, and he wanted to have 5 user version at $295. He wanted to have 50 user versions at $2,500. So I came and said one day, I said, no, we are going to do one NetWare, and we're going to sell licenses at 5, 10, 20 users. And by doing that one, very quickly brought the development team down to half the size. And they said, what if people cheat? People can't cheat. And we are selling them a license version of the disk. They have to insert that to make it happen. And all of a sudden, Novell, the R&D effort went down from about 35% of the sales to about 20% of the sales. 15% improvement in profit simply because I said we are going to have one version, one source, one tree, one set of documents, and simplify the business. And so very quickly brought the this whole thing in light. And then I said, okay.
Did you have to run a big layoff to do that?
We had grown so rapidly, that we didn't hire people. We didn't hire people, and a large companies have attrition. But we did do a small layoff. We did do small layoff. And then I started to think through, all right, how do we raise prices on the high end? And so normally when you have the same software, every time you raise the number of users, you cannot double the price, you increase the price by 40-50%. So I came up with this new version of NetWare, which was same source, marketed and packaged slightly differently. The NetWare SFT, which was a fault tolerant NetWare, and we tripled the prices on that one. And we didn't sell too many of that, but for every one we sold, there was a bad rate, the margins. So I was able to use my own logic. How do you price to the market? Yeah. See, I come from the old thinking, the value is in the eye of the customer, and it has nothing to do with your trust. Whether it costs you $1 or $10 has nothing to do with that one. What is that? What's his choice? What's his alternative? If he's spending $100 on something right now, he can do the same thing for $1. You shouldn't sell it to $1 or $2, right? You should sell him
For $99.
$80, $90. Give him some reason to move, but not you retain the margin. Your margins are whittled down by your competition. If alternative appears to offer alternative solution at lower price, that's what you compete. You don't lower the prices on your own, right? So Novell had become one of the most profitable companies. They were doing 40% pre-tax, better than Microsoft back in '91. Microsoft was worth $20 billion in the marketplace. Novell was worth $12 billion in the marketplace back then. And that was the high water mark for Novell. Microsoft is worth now $500 billion.
So ultimately, you got into the internal strife, and that kind of soured you. Was there push or pull to get to do something differently?
So I turned on Novell. I mean Reynolda at the board. And Ray got very surprised because he thought I was his underling, and when I opened up on him that his nonsense happening in the company at the board, he got very depressed, and he stopped coming to the company, started coming to the board meetings, and so then he announced that he was going to resign as a CEO and chairman. And I was sure that that I'm going to be CEO and chairman, but same thing happened. We need to do that as CEO. So we got another CEO from HP at Novell, and we have announced the WordPerfect merger. We haven't finished the merger yet, and I'll tell you a story about Lotus also in a minute. So we hired this guy Bob Frankenberg. Bob Frankenberg was running the PC business. And after Bob Frankenberg, I realized that HP is not training their people right. Bob Frankenberg comes to Novell. We are a business software company, and we are in process of acquiring WordPerfect, which is sort of business software / consumer software. And so I say at the first board meeting that maybe we should cancel the merger with WordPerfect. Let Bob Frankenberg come on board, let him get in the saddle, let him decide the strategy, and then we'll do something. Why do we want to saddle him with this merger? And Bob looks at him and says, the only reason he's coming to Novell is because of WordPerfect merger. He won't accept. I said, oh shit. So I knew that I had started on the wrong foot with him. And so after that one, he comes on board and he spends 99% of his time at WordPerfect. Not only at WordPerfect, WordPerfect had this consumer software for children that they were just starting up, and he got enamored with that one. So NetWeaver got in trouble, and after a while, it was just too painful for me to hand around. Lotus merger. So year earlier, Novell announced the merger with Lotus, right? But it was a very strange announcement because there was no deal. There was no merger deal done. You hear in the press that Ray Noda and Jim Manzi have agreed to merge Novell and Lotus. I'm on the board of Novell. There was never discussion on the board of Novell. And where's the deal? Well, a deal is to be worked out. How can you announce a merger if the deal has not been worked out? Well, so Jim Manzi understands that the mine company will be called Lotus. And he'll be the CEO of the new company. And here, Novell is a lot more profitable, a lot bigger company than Lotus. How can the combined company be Lotus? So I say, it's not going to happen. This merger is not going to happen. Ray is just playing. And so Ray becomes unavailable after this merger has been announced, and Jim now is looking to do the details. He can't find somebody to do the deal work, right? So he comes and sees me. He says, "We need got to do the deal." I said, "What deal?" He said, "The one we announced." I said, "Yeah, you're working with Ray, don't do it." He said, "I can't find Ray." So I said, "Ray hasn't told me about any deal and what the deal terms are. I can't do anything." And so Jim is saying, "What the heck is going on here at Novell?" Yeah. And so he finally finds Ray. Ray says, "Why don't you come up with the merger document? I'll sign it." He comes up with the merger document. Ray will sign it. I said, "That's not enough. That's what will be very interesting." So they do something, and now the deal comes to the Novell board. So I speak first. Oh yeah, Larry Sansini. Larry Sansini is on the board. Larry Sansini speaks for Novell. Novell is a genius. He's done so many great deals. This is one more of the big deals that he's doing. He's going to build a large, powerful company. I suggest everybody support the deal. I looked at the deal. I said, I don't understand the deal. It doesn't make sense to me at all. But if Ray wants to do it, I'll support it. So the other board members go all around here. After I said, I don't understand the deal, they will say the same thing. I don't understand the deal. If Ray wants to do it, let's do it. So Ray is the last guy. Everybody has given Ray we'll support it. So Ray says, "You guys don't want to do the deal?" "Yeah, no." "So why are we doing this deal?" Because you want to do the deal. I said, no, I don't want to do this deal. If it doesn't make sense to you, why should we do the deal? And he puts the plug on the deal. And I knew from the day one that he was going to do that, because you don't do a merger where all the deals have, all the terms have been not fully agreed, right? You go down to the last detail, you announce a definitive merger deal, that's by the time you announce. And so, so there was like that, and a little bit, but he got $100 million worth of publicity from that announcement. That put Novell on a very different trajectory. So Novell, I wrote a blog. You can find that on the internet. I said Excelan Novell merger made in heaven and hell.
And hell, right? That was
I
the
know
wording.
You saw that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it was a lot of fun in the beginning. When we were building the company, but then it became all nonsense.
So in '95, you retired from. Is that right? From.
In '94, it's all '94. So Bob Frankenberg came on board at the end of '93. And so '94, I was there in name only. I was on the board. I'll show up for work, maybe once a week. And but Bob didn't want me to leave. Mm-hmm. He didn't want me to leave. He wanted me to stay. And he said, take your time, And by end of '94, it became very clear. Staying just didn't make sense because he wasn't utilizing me, but he didn't want the appearance of that I had left, but I decided to leave anyway.
So how did you decide what's next? Somewhere along the line, there was cyber media for part of the time.
So I left on January 1st of 1995 because I had to stay at least a day to get my full separation, salary. There was a full, there was a big chunk of money. So I decided not to do anything. I just became very active at TIE. Mm-hmm.
Was TIE already in existence, or did you just start at that
TIE
time?
was formed in '92, but it was sort of not very active operation till about late '93. Mm. 92, '93 was a handful of us just discussing. So '94 March it became visible to people. We did a TIE conference called a workshop for entrepreneurs, and that was a very big hit, and that put TIE on the map and became very active. So it was let's say March of '94 is when TIE really happened, as we know. And in January of '95, when I came out of Novell, I had no place to go to work. And my wife would say, you are in my space. Go out and come back at 5 p.m. I don't want you home before 5 p.m. And we've been married for a long time, and that's the way the life was, right? And so I set up an office at Thai office. Thai office would open on weekends, and during the week it would be closed. So I set up an office, and I'll open the office in the morning, and people would drop in, to bounce ideas off me, show me their plans, talk to me about the issues they have. So I became very busy very quickly because the word was out that you could spend time with me. And for me it was, I loved it because I had nothing to do there. I had my New York Times, I had my Wall Street Journal that I finished reading, and there's not much else to do, right? But people were dropping in, and through that process I became a mentor to large number of entrepreneurs, and I would send them to the VCs that I knew, and they were still not debt funded. This is 95. I'm scratching my head here. It's been 8-9 years since we went public. A few other guys have done well, and the VCs are still not funding the Indian entrepreneurs. And I said, okay, we'll fund some of them ourselves. And 95, I funded 7 companies. And I found a little bit of syndicate.
So you were started as an angel, and then you started a little syndicate work?
It was mostly syndicate of angels. Every time I invest.
Were the other syndicate members Indians as well?
Yeah, half of them were Indians, half were, John Barsh and John Dudley. They wouldn't invest in anything I would touch. They would jump right in. And there was a guy, Shea Holmes at Shea. He became friend with me in the 80s, and he invested with me in 50 companies. And so I invested in 7 companies in 95, and all 7 of them did very, very well. And one of them was cyber media. And
was your role there as an advisor as well as an investor?
Most of the places, a mentor to the founder and maybe a board member.
So you took board seats as well?
Yeah, I took the board seats in at least half the companies I invested. And I invested in 54 companies in about 5, 7, 8 years. And I think I was a board member in about half of them. And but I was mentor to entrepreneur in every one of them. But that's what most entrepreneurs wanted.
I'd like for us here at the museum to get on record the beginning of Thai. So it started with, you said, some informal conversations, and then the conference. Could you take us back to that?
I'll take back to the Thai. But just to come back, that 7 companies I invested in 95, the first one got acquired in 96. I made more money than I had invested in all the 7 companies. And I said, oh, this is easy. And after that I never looked back. 23 companies, 31 companies went bankrupt. 23 companies were either public or acquired. 6 of them had the IPO. So it was a phenomenally successful thing there. 10, 11 times my money, cash on cash basis. So Thai, by 92, I had done well. A company had done public. I was still at Novell. Suhash Patel, I think he's on the board here.
He was just here last Wednesday.
Yeah.
He's on
Suhash
our
Patel,
council. Yes.
had started Cirrus Logic, and had done, he pioneered this whole fabless, chip company, and there were 3-4 other guys. Half a dozen of us had done well. We didn't know each other. We weren't friends in the sense that but there was Indian government bureaucrat who was in town. He invited us all for a lunch, and we were all there. And after lunch we said, we should get to know each other. We should meet each other, and we spent. So we set up a dinner between 8-9 of us once a month, and that's when I said 92 that we did that 92. By 93, early 93, we said we all shared our stories, and we all realized that we have similar experiences. We had to work our way to the top. We had to fight, and nobody believed in us. Nobody encouraged us. Nobody inspired us, and was very hard. It was a lonely journey for most of us. And somebody said, it shouldn't have been that lonely. We should help our younger people, become entrepreneurs. We should inspire. We should become role models. We should become mentors. And that was the genesis of TIE. And as a decision, we should start a workshop for entrepreneurs. And so we thought.
Was any of those 9 the spark behind all the rest of the activity?
Suvash Patil and I did most of the, but I think they were all very active. The others were not as successful, had not taken companies public. So see, as you know, the entrepreneurs are very brutal people. Yeah. If you haven't done well, how can you mentor me?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So entrepreneurs decide who they use as mentors. But Suvash had done well, and the others had done, and they put in a lot of energy into TIE. So we thought we will get maybe 100 people for that workshop, and we prepared to have 100 people we made the announcement, and 500 people signed up.
Where was the location that you held?
Fairmont in San Jose.
San Jose.
And all of a sudden we had to change the room from small room to the ballroom. And now we said 500 people are coming here. We can't do this random workshop. We have to prepare, and so so it went through pretty massive preparation work. Have the presentations ready, have the material ready, and so the first workshop was run in March, April of '94, and that was very successful workshop. And that put us on the map. And all of a sudden we felt the burden of. There's a need here, there's a demand here, and we have volunteered to do it.
They were all from the Bay Area?
Yeah, mostly from Bay Area. I think there were a few random people from East Coast, maybe a dozen or so. And but we also discovered it was not all Indian group. The Chinese and the Americans also showed up. Maybe 10% of the population was non-Indian. So even though it was an Indian group. And so we made it very open type between non-Indian, non-Chinese. Open to everybody. Even at this late stage, maybe third of the population at TIE events is non-Indian. And so '95, when I set up the office at TIE, TIE became more tangible. People will come. I did almost all my work under the TIE.
Back up just a little bit more. How did TIE get its name?
So it was the international entrepreneur, the Indian entrepreneur, and I stood up and said, no, it's the Indian U.S. entrepreneur, IND, capital U.S.
Indus.
Indus. And all of a sudden I said that Indian U.S., the Indus Valley civilization, it seems fit. And we want to be red, white, and blue Americans, so TIE tells us red, white, and blue, as it is Indians, green, orange and white, right? So we wanted to be mainstream America. So once the name Indus got put up with the capital U.S., everybody loved it. And I think it's back to my. See, the one thing I discovered, I was a hardcore cerebral engineer, but my best work was done as a marketing guy, pricing, packaging, positioning. And so I became very aware, that how you do that, has a bigger impact than what's in the box, right? That's what you need to do to get in the door. If you don't get in the door, they don't even open your box and see what's in there, right? So by that time I had become pretty much a marketing guy, in my thinking. And so TIE, when I set up the office at TIE, all these people are coming now, and in the beginning I'm loving it because it fills up my day, but there's endless demand. I can't get home at 5. I can't get home at 8. People are and so I set up a system. You have to sign up ahead of time to come and see me. I hired an admin, my old admin from Novell. I hired her to manage my time, but demand was unlimited. I'm doing 7 days a week, 8, 9, 10 people a day, and so I did that for about maybe 5, 6 years, maybe 7 years, and then I started to feel health problems. I need to do more about my health. I'm overweight. Out of breath. So I said I need to do. If you read my blog, there's a blog called 2002. Where I said I need to put emphasis on myself, regenerate myself. I lost 70 pounds that
Dramatic
year.
weight loss, right?
Yeah.
And a change in priorities.
Yeah, weight loss, hiking, bicycling, becoming fit. So by the end of 2002, I had become very fit. Dot-com burst had happened also, and I had not seen it coming as clearly as it. I knew dot-com companies were not real in many cases, but I didn't expect everything to do right, and so I had self-doubts in 2001, 2002. How can I mentor people? When I don't see these big things like that happening, right? So by 2002, I had decided, that I need to do, fix myself, and so when I came out of that, then by 2003, I was feeling very good, and I started to see, that even though I had self-doubts, I should have been a little bit more forceful in my thinking, and so I said I need to become a little bit more hard-nosed than I was, even about the valley. There's a lot more hype than reality. So
how did you come to that conclusion? How did you come to that particular conclusion?
Because I looked at the whole thing in totality. There were companies which had done extremely well. Even of the companies that I was involved, I missed the macro picture, but at a micro level, I was still very effective. And I was starting to see, and I engaged with India in 2000. I went to India and we did a seminar in New Delhi on wealth creation, Silicon Valley style, entrepreneurship and wealth creation, and got this revolution going in India, and I was starting to see the impact I was having there. So it became very clear that I'm being unnecessarily harsh on myself. The system as a whole failed, but I don't think I had personally failed.
I'd like to talk in a little more detail about your investments at the time. You gave kind of some summary numbers about the total number of companies and your multiplication of your funds, but can you talk about how you decide when you're looking at companies, were you looking at the jockey or the horse? How did you make your decisions about who you were investing in?
So I have developed, and I had developed even before, a pretty strong core belief system is all about an entrepreneur. It's not about technology and market. Technology and markets change all the time. Every day there's a change in the marketplace. So if you're betting on a trend or a technology, it needs to evolve. The only constant you have is a person. So I became very aware that you need to have an entrepreneur who is pretty much free-spirited. He has doubts. He has convictions, but he has doubts. And I described doing a startup as driving on a mountain road at night. Where road bends, you got to stay on the road. You can only see through your headlights. So you need to be very much focused on what you're doing and pay attention. So entrepreneurs became. So once I started to like you as a person, and it took me a while. Maybe 3, 4, 5 meetings. I'll bet on you. But the incoming, only 1 to 2% of the population succeeds as entrepreneurs, right? So 98 to 99% of people don't succeed. So incoming person, my answer is no. Whatever you're telling me, my answer is no. I'll spend an hour with you and to help you, but don't ask me for investment. So and the burden was on him to break through that barrier, and so maybe one in 20, 1 in 25 people. So my other rule was, if I'm only teaching you, I'm probably not going to invest in you. I need to learn something from you. If you have a new way of thinking, if you are doing something that I haven't seen before, a new way of so once I started to learn from you, I got hooked. Then say, hey, this is something, maybe together we can do something. So that became one of the tests for me. That am I having fun? Am I learning something new? So I realized very quickly that you have to be in trenches to keep up with the technology and markets, right? You can't be back here and know what's going on. The entrepreneurs are there. They have to tell you, and when they are engaged with the customers and markets. So I became very quickly enamored with the people who were starting to teach me, the authentic new way of doing things, and I have found that to be very useful. And then I'm learning that from 10 different people, and now I'm starting to synthesize. This is how the world is shaping up. So I started to become engaged with the people who were teaching me stuff, and most of my investments were like that. And I almost always went out of my area of expertise to invest.
Can you say more about that? So you mentioned 2 criteria, that they're teaching you something, and they're free-spirited, and then that you're having fun.
I can give you some more.
Yeah, are there some more attributes?
Intellectual rigor and intellectual honesty. If somebody walked into me and said, my last company failed because my VP of engineering didn't get the product right, or my last company failed because my customer canceled the order on me, or my last company failed because the VCs won't give me any more money. So this guy is blaming others, and he's not always next time you don't blame me. So I don't like the guys who blame others. I like the guys who say, I wasn't smart enough to see my guy was falling behind and needed help. I wasn't paying attention to my customer's pain. I wasn't aware that my VCs had started to tune out. The guy who owns the failures are the guys I love, because they are learning, and so I like the guys who are learning very rapidly. There are a few other things. One of them is I don't like to work with the guys who have done well in their first startup. They try and say, next Steve Jobs, I need to do. The guys who have done well, they think they have magic.
Sort of like Kanwal Rekhi.
They think they have magic. They think they have magic. And they are used to living the good life now. They have the Mercedes. They take the European vacations. The family doesn't understand. Say, what do you mean we can't take our vacation? We don't need any more money, right? The family support disappears. I like the guys. The first time guy, I don't know, is an even chance. But the guys who have failed once, I pay attention to them. They have paid. Somebody else has paid their tuition. And they have twice the fire in their belly. And they want to, prove it wasn't them. They are highly sensitized. So I like the guys who have not done well once, and still are bad for a certain time. So there's the intensity there, right? So, and I found that to be I have several guys who have done very, very well. Didn't go with them, and that was a smart decision on my part.
Many people talk about failure or failing fast being a mantra here in the Valley, and how do you distinguish between people who have actually learned something?
This is bad to intellectual rigor. If you're hanging on to an idea when the market feedback is bad, the guy is not paying attention to the market. So the guys who are in tune, who are listening, this is the point I made earlier, being on the mountain road. I'm off the road and I'm still believing that something. The guys who start to become dreamers, you don't want to work with dreamers either. You want to know the guy who's very, he's starting to spade a spade. This is not what the guy, failing is built into this whole thing. Acceptance of failure is a very much part of being a good entrepreneur, right? And failing fast is a cliche, because you don't want to force things to fail, right? You don't want to do things to make it fail, but you don't want to hang on to things where the market is telling you it's not going to go anywhere. Some people who start to poo-poo or their competition, they don't take their competition seriously. People who start to say, I will work twice as hard as the next guy, you don't want to invest in them either. Every entrepreneur works very, very hard. And the other guy has a perspective, that you need to take time to understand. We start to say, that guy is stupid. You have this issue, right? So I like the guys who are very intellectually honest and reader, and they take competition seriously.
So among the people that you took bets on, can you tell us about some of the companies that you're most proud that you were associated with, the entrepreneurs that you mentored? Or
And Exodus was a big company, right? In the valley.
Can you spell that, please?
Exodus.
Oh, Exodus.
You're a Jewish guy, right?
Yeah, no, I thought I heard something else. I'm sorry.
The Exodus. So the two guys, and this is 95. In 95, internet is happening. Netcom is offering you internet at $19.95 a month, or you can eat. They're mostly dial-up networks, right? AT&T is offering network at $20, and so network is becoming. Everybody's signing up to on the internet. $20 a month. So these guys come and talk to me, and they want to do the ISP, internet service provider side becomes very commonplace. So these guys want to talk. They want to do a BISP, business ISP. So what does business ISP mean? He says, well, all these consumers are getting on the internet. The businesses will have to get on the internet too, and they will need something different than in the consumers need. They would need more reliable network. They need flexible network. They need a lot more bandwidth. And so we need to offer them different service. We can charge them $10,000 a month. And I say, so let's start more. All of a sudden, it was totally out of box thinking. Why would somebody pay you $10,000 more? Because that's and such. And we'll build the data centers, we'll manage their power, we'll manage their bandwidth, we'll guarantee them. We will build a mirror data center in New York in case there's an earthquake. So there was this very evolved thinking, and so it started to excite me. But they had a massive nonsense. We will do their applications, we'll manage their applications, we'll do, and I said, no, let's build the data centers.
Focused.
Let's become a reliable infrastructure player. Let them do their own application. Let them do their own stuff. Let them build their own servers. So Exodus became a very big hit very quickly because they came in '95, just when the internet was happening, and everybody needed help. You couldn't get a T1 line from the telephone companies. So we put the data centers. We rented big fiber lines from telephone companies to build our own network in the back, and simplified their business. Like I made the point earlier, I want to learn from them, but collaboratively, we can do something, together. So I simplified the business, thinking by almost 95% by not doing the applications, not doing the application management, not doing the server management. We will supply you reliable bandwidth, reliable power, and reliable environment AC, and we'll offer you mirror imaging capability in New York. So we built data centers, and we had a plan to fill the data centers in about a year, and they filled up within 6 weeks, the first data center. So we knew we had something. We built 50 data centers. When the dot-com burst happened, they were super exposed because they were doubling every 6 months in capacity for several years, and so 50% of the new data centers were being built when the dot-com burst happened. So all of a sudden they were taught, and so they went under very fast, but the company was worth $30 billion at one time.
And right before the bubble burst.
And so I did fairly well as an individual in the investment, but I was on the board. I wasn't able to sell fast enough, but I still made 86 times my money.
Not bad.
Yeah, but if I was able to sell, yeah, I would have made 1,000 times my money.
Were there any of those companies on which you bet and even started participating as a board member that you had to pull the plug on? And how did you decide? How did you decide when and how to do that?
Oh, several of them, right? 31 companies failed, and so you can tell when company is not doing well because market competition has emerged. But you can also tell the company is not doing well because the entrepreneur is not paying attention. Or he's always dreaming. So it's very easy to work with the entrepreneurs, where there's a competition has emerged or market is slow to materialize. But it's very hard to work with an entrepreneur, who's ignoring everything, right? So you pull the plug on the guys, who are just not living in the real world. And it's very easy to pull the plug because, the demand on your time and money is infinite. So where do you want to put your money and time, right? So in our business, street wheel doesn't get the oil, right? Because you want to replace that damn wheel, very quickly. Not become heartless, right? You drive it. So I have this another rule. I want to come and visit you, and if I feel drained emotionally after that visit, I don't want to come back and visit you second time. But if I come and visit you and I feel very energized, I want to come back again. So I had this thing, good entrepreneurs have to be sources of energy rather than sinks of energy. If they are draining you when you meet with them, they are going to drain their employees, they don't drain their customers, they're not going to go anywhere. So that's a very big filter for me. If I start after a couple of visits, I come out of the meeting shaking my head and boy, what such a waste of time. I'm not going to go back there. So it becomes easy in a way, because it's not as, this is not a charity business, right? Even in charity, you have to be heartless sometimes. The charities that start to fail, they become very sure. Hey, you support us. All these people will support. These charities you have no way of knowing if charity is being good or not, right? In businesses, if they start to become shrill, they start to drain you. And I don't have to like you as a person, as an entrepreneur. I just don't have to. That's not my requirement. I just need to feel energized. I need to learn something from you. I need to feel hey, we are doing something here. Which a tough marketplace, tough competition. I understand all that. But I don't like the guys who become overconfident very quickly.
I'd like to turn now to the time when you started Inventus and had a formal fund. Can you tell us about the genesis in the next chapter as you became a venture capitalist?
So John Dudery and John Bosch were the two VCs that invested in Excelan. So John Dudery's son wanted to do a fund, and by that time, I been out. I'm still doing small angel investments, after 2002, 2003. I'm looking to see what's next in my life. So he comes and talks to me, and he wants to partner with me and do a fund, which is U.S.-India fund. India is emerging. We can invest here, we can invest there. Indian Americans have done well in the Valley, and he's 20 years younger than me. And his dad had told him to do, get me as a partner, and he wasn't going to let me do. And but I said, this is now, I'm 62, 63, maybe 60, and I don't want to do it. He said he'll do most of the work. I just need to mentor him in the investments and all that. So he wore me down in a way. But then I started to like the idea because a structured fund, it's hard to do investments in India from here. You have to travel. So this structure provided the way to travel 5-6 times a year. So we ended up finding a partner in India. So 3 of us did the inventors, one in 2007. And
This is a branch of Inventus in India?
The fund was US India fund. And so we had a partner in Bangalore and 2 partners here. 3 of us started the fund.
The total investment, how does it separate out percentage-wise?
So I think, so we hired one more guy in India, so became 2 and 2. And roughly half and half. We did 18 investments in fund 1, and I think we did 10 over there and 8 here. And in fund 2 we did 23 investments. We did 12 here and 11 there. So same,
And the scale? What was the scale of those? The funds was?
Yeah, $50 million and $100 million funds, small funds. And fund 1 will do very, very well. Fund 1 will, fund 1 has Poshmark.
It's a Poshmark, right? Is there big?
Poshmark is doing phenomenally well. Fund 1 has a Poshmark in it, right? Sesame in it. It had a red bus in it. The fund 1 will do very, very well. Fund 2 is a little too early to tell. So I'm thinking of moving on now because what's next in my life has been.
What is next?
I don't know yet.
Well, we're getting to the point where you have to tell us how people younger than you can get to be as good as you got. But let's hear what your planning is.
No, so I'm 72, right? So I mean, I love what I do. I love to work with entrepreneurs. I'm still having impact. You know very quickly you're having impact or not. And like I told you, entrepreneurs, they're very brutal people. If you're wasting their time, they won't return your phone call, right? Entrepreneurs, need to get value out of you.
So that's the one way you measure success or fulfillment.
And there's a fear that once you pull out of the fray, it's hard to get back in. This world changes very rapidly. There's a technology change, market change, process change. But on the other hand, you say, well, how long can you sustain? I travel to India every couple of months, and so I told my partners, maybe another 5 years. You have to give them notice, that I am not going to be. So this new fund we're doing, I'll help invest, but I won't help harvest.
Is there an heir apparent to take over in the next 5 years?
Yeah. My nephew, my brother's son, joined us about 5-6 years ago. He's a fast learner. So he's on the fund. But John Rodriguez has become pretty good. I found it very, not necessary, but very helpful to have been an entrepreneur. To understand the dynamics of a startup. A startup is a roller coaster, high and low, right? I mean, I'm sure you heard. One day you're at the top of the world, and the next day, you fall off. So the part of your job is to provide that even keel. When things are too good, don't get too exuberant, and when things are down in the dumps, don't get too depressed. I do that fairly effectively. John is learning that you can't lose patience with the entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs do make mistakes, and you got to understand. It's the guy who's making stupid mistakes. I tell people I don't mind at all if you make a new type of mistake that nobody has ever made before. But I don't want you to be making the same mistake that everybody else has made before, and you haven't learned from them, right? So you have to have this love-hate, where you love one part, but you hate this other part. And I also become very invested emotionally in my mentees. That's not the money. Their success is my success. Their failure is my failure. I mean, I don't wash my hands off that easily.
When you have these mentees, as you say, founders who are looking for advice, not just money, but really you as a mentor and sort of matchmaking and all these other things. What are the things that they are saying that is most important that they're learning from you or gaining from you?
No. I told you before, the demand for me to be a mentor is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, infinite. Yeah, both here and in India. So I don't ever fall for that. Once I engage with you, I decide. Yeah, where I'm learning, where I'm having fun. Something new for me. So very few people succeed, right?
Very few.
So I do hold mentoring classes. By the way, I should tell you, Michigan Tech, my alma mater. I and Dave House are from Michigan Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Dave
Yes.
was at Intel, right?
He's on our board here too.
Yeah, 15 years ago, Dave House and I decided to go back to Michigan Tech and help them transform, and we have had phenomenal impact at Michigan Tech. I've been doing their mentoring professors, students, preaching the gospel of entrepreneurship and wealth creation, and so that has become one of the missions in my life. How do I transform Michigan Tech into a Midwestern second-tier school into a hotbed of entrepreneurship? And they are starting to get there. We have 3-4 startups out of there. One of them is doing extremely well now. And so the goal was to have 1 to 2 startups every year coming out of that one.
Are they local in Upper Peninsula?
No, so that's the problem. Nobody wants to stay local once they start to succeed.
Yeah.
They move. I can imagine somebody will stay. So one of them is still local. And this is a professor startup. And the other one moved. The whole team moved to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
The handshake, and so Michigan Tech became one of the personal missions for me. I had done that to IIT Bombay. IIT Bombay is a very hotbed of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
I set up an incubator there, and I started mentoring them in 2001, year before Michigan Tech, and they were fast. We have had 50, 60 startups from IIT Bombay in the last 15 years. Michigan Tech took longer time, but it's starting to happen.
You've talked about being a catalyst really for building these hotbeds of entrepreneurship. I'd like to hear your perspective on the Valley. You've lived through boom and bust time. What do you think accounts for this place's ability to recreate its leading edge?
Well, this valley is like a nuclear reactor, right? There's enough fuel here, right?
Critical mass?
Technical talent, legal talent, marketing talent, financial talent, right? There's enough of that, and they are rubbing shoulders with each other all the time. And there's a success history, and there's a certain people like me who have come back, to plow back. So I think the Silicon Valley is one of a type. It's very, very hard to get this thing going, right? And so here's my thought. For you to become an entrepreneur, you have to get out of your comfort zone. We all get into daily routine, going to work, this project, this delivery, this thing, right? Heads down. Somebody has to shake you out of that one, either yourself or something. And so to step out of your comfort zone, in my case, it was David Jackson. Somebody I mentored, somebody who worked for me had become an entrepreneur, and I said, why not me? Mm-hmm. Why can't I be an entrepreneur? So somebody has to shake you up, right? But for that, you have to have this belief that people like you can be entrepreneurs. So role models become very important. If people of your background become very important. In my case, there was no role model, so that was a very unusual case. But I have learned that if somebody who has similar background to you becomes an entrepreneur, it becomes easy for you to imagine that you can be one too. So Michigan Tech was that problem because there was no one from Michigan Tech other than me who was entrepreneur. It was very shocking to me, and I was not average Midwestern, beef, meat and potato dry, right? So it wasn't very easy for them to relate, but I persisted there. So you need to have role models, you need to be able to challenge yourself. Why not me? Because nobody from outside can challenge you. Yeah, your parents say, settle down, get a job. You're not a kid anymore. Entrepreneurs are not not seen until they succeed as desirable, right? No mom says, son, give up everything and do that for the next 3 years. So there's an emphasis to conform, to be disciplined, and it's a painful process. 2, 3, 4 years of substandard salary, opportunity cost, and all that. So you have to decide. You have to put pressure on yourself. And so I tell people, this journey into unknown, has to be self-motivated.
As you look at the valley and look ahead, none of us have a crystal ball, but are there things that you think are threats or concerns that would change the valley's ability to be an incubator for next generation entrepreneurs?
Yeah, this valley, is somewhat trouble, right? Facebook and Google are sorting up all the talent, right? Facebook and Google are producing roughly about $2 million per employee as revenue, which is unthinkable, right?
Yeah.
So they can pay salaries which are unbelievable. They can have this fancy. I mean, if you don't know, have you been to Facebook campus?
My two kids work at Facebook.
Yeah, it's a Disneyland, right? The Main Street, with nice, So because they are able to produce money, right? Have money, but it's very hard to compete with them. Very, very hard to compete with them. So I worry about that part, because the notion that if you produce $2 million per employee revenue, you can pay $250 salary and spend another $250 on the perch, and you still have $1.5 million. So it becomes harder for those states to leave and start because opportunity cost for leaving that Facebook is very high. Not only salary plus bonus plus the stock option price. So that's the other part. When I left, for this journey, I was making $75,000. Opportunity cost was very high for me at that time. $75,000 back in 1982 is making $304,000 now, easily, right? In purchasing power and all that. So there's the issue of that. But I think the valley is becoming bigger, right? Than it used. If in the old days we used to talk about I don't invest in East Bay, let alone the East Coast, right? I think valley is expanding beyond, and with the internet, location becomes less and less and less important. The lecture I gave at Michigan Tech is fiber. Here puts you on par with people in the valley. You have same sources of information. You just need to travel to go find the people. There was this professor, who came looking for me, from Michigan Tech. He's doing the nanosatellite thrusters. Extending the life of nanosatellites, and I was impressed. Whether we funded him. Half a dozen of us. Not through inventors, but my old syndicate invested $1.5 million in him, and he's doing this stuff out of Michigan Tech, and he's not having. So my sense is, it's very hard to know what will happen. Silicon Valley will maintain its for foreseeable future. The Facebook, Doodle, these guys have become too big and too powerful to maybe even suppress some of this growth, right?
What about other places? You've been so active in India in trying to affect regulation change and also spawn entrepreneurs there. What's your view on how India is evolving as a place for entrepreneurship?
India is evolving at an unbelievable rate. When I started to talk about the entrepreneurship, people would say, "Huh? That's America. That's not something which will happen in India." India is the third largest pool of entrepreneurs in the world now. And the Bangalore is like Silicon Valley. Almost everybody here is in Bangalore, and I think I think India will beat China. To tell you the truth, because India's a lot more free spirited than China is. China has done well fortune in Chinese market. Baidu, Tencent, they are not very big outside China. They are not in. Do you use Baidu, Tencent, Alibaba?
Alibaba? No.
Nobody. But Indian companies are selling in US like you wouldn't believe. You don't even know they're Indian companies. And so India is very open. It's just like US. Another 20 years. Yeah, but 20 years is not that much time.
We'll be in our 90s.
Yeah, I used to say that I hope that I live to see it happen. But I'll tell you, the change I've seen in the last 20 years is unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable change.
Thai, just returning back to Thai.
But by the way, Thai has 70 chapters worldwide now. 70 chapters. The chapters in Middle East, chapter in Singapore, chapter in Malaysia, chapter in Hong Kong. Couple of chapters in England, couple of chapters in Australia, and chapters opening in New Zealand now, and Africa is starting to. So the Thai phenomena is a self-help phenomena where successful people locally come together to help younger entrepreneurs, right? So it has nothing to do with us as a group. We provide you the recipe, we provide you the things, and we provide you the speakers, but local guys have to build this system. And I was in South Africa 3-4 months ago, and they're starting a chapter in South Africa, in Cape Town.
Do you have to go through the same thing you did in India to make sure the regulations for investing are adequate? You taught it. Almost everybody in the world is now looking at entrepreneurship as a way, right? So it's a lot easier now than it used to be. I thought about that venture capital, angel capital is a noble capital. You need to make it feel very welcome. You need to provide it safeguards it needs. Entrepreneurship is a wealth creation, job creation activity for the whole society, not for the individuals, right? I do speak a lot, but I don't have the same fervor that I had 20 years ago. How many things can you change? How many things you want to change, right? But impact on India has been impact on the Indians in the valley here has been phenomenal. I think we've come to the point where we have to ask you the question: what advice would you give to young wannabe entrepreneurs and/or venture capitalists?
So the entrepreneur. So I tell people when I speak at. By the way, I speak at universities in the U.S. a lot. I'm going to University of Indiana. They discovered me, so they want me to come and speak to them in March. And so I asked students, how many of you want to be entrepreneurs? And a few hands go up typically, And then I asked, the rest of you have decided not to be entrepreneurs, right? No, we haven't decided. So how come you did? Your hand didn't go up. And we don't know yet. So I tell people that. Nobody is going to tell you to become an entrepreneur. I don't think anybody's parents ever tell you to become an entrepreneur. Your friends typically, don't encourage you to become entrepreneurs, because once you become an entrepreneur, you are no fun anymore. You don't have time to go to football games, to go to movies, time to have hang around and have beer, right? So nobody from outside is going to encourage you to become an entrepreneur. And as a matter of fact, the odds are so low. 2% of the population becomes entrepreneur. That 98% of the population, people put you into the 98% bucket. You have to have fire in yourself to say I belong in the 2%. And I need to prove it to them. And I need, and so this journey has to be self-initiated, self-motivated. If you don't decide to give yourself a chance, nobody else will give you a chance to become an entrepreneur. It's not where your uncle says, come vote for me as an entrepreneur. And so that's one thing. And the other part is there's this 2, 3, 4 years of journey. Before you start to see the light. How do you sustain yourself through that period? And by the way, Thai provides that sustenance. You come to Thai, it's like going to church, going to temple. People of same faith, believe in the same things that there, right? So you're not an oddball anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're not an
community.
oddball. You don't feel and so TIE provides that. And then after TIE provides the opportunity to find the potential partners, potential investors. So I tell the people, you need to decide, and then you need to go mingle with the people, so you can start to sort it in. It's a journey. It's not something. Very few people are like Bart Chatterboard, that are Bill Gates, who can drop out and become entrepreneurs. A typical entrepreneur is in his late 20s, or maybe early 30s, and takes time. Prepare yourself. Both financially and emotionally. And I tell people not to become entrepreneurs with your friends. Don't partner with your friends. Because you end up you're not very objective towards your friends. You forgive too many failures, too many mistakes. You want to have a very objective relationship with people, right? I'm the best. I want to associate with the best. And we need to hold each other accountable. In friendship, somebody misses something, you don't want to hurt feelings, right?
And you don't want to lose a friendship.
You don't want to lose friendship, that's what
You could get in an argument,
But in my opinion, the world is heading towards being more and more entrepreneurial. With the internet, the corporations like the old days, economy just scales are disappearing. I can have an idea. I can have somebody in India implement the software. I can have somebody in China manufacture. I can have marketing. So this is back to the old days. Everybody works for himself and finds a way to make things happen. Companies are less and less likely to hire you as a paid employee, because I can outsource the work to India, right? We've seen this over and over, right? I can get those people just as good at 1/3 the price. So and you become entrepreneur either by choice or you're forced to. I tell the story about my IBM story. So all these guys who went to work for IBM, when I didn't go to work for IBM, and they laughed at me for the next 15, 20 years. They were being laid off by IBM in late 80s and early 90s. When they were in their 40s. And they had worked for nobody else ever besides IBM. And they were going through this process of, why me? Why IBM? I was so loyal to them, right? And I told them, hey, you're smart. You know the market, you know the technology. Why are you dependent upon IBM for life? For your livelihood, don't do your own thing. So a lot of these guys who got fired by IBM, were pushed out of their comfort zone by layoffs, and many of them became entrepreneurs. So it's not that you sometimes do it voluntarily, sometimes you're pushed into it, right? Life goes on, mortgage is still there, children's education and tuition is still due. I still have to worry about my retirement, right? So when they force you out, then you go through this process. Nobody's ever going to do that to me ever again, right? Mm-hmm. So entrepreneurship happens either voluntarily or involuntarily.
We have a tradition with exponential interviews of asking somebody to crystallize your advice or inspiration for a next generation entrepreneur in one word, and then to share a personal story about what that is. Could we close with that? If you could think of one word.
One word.
Mm-hmm. An attribute or a word of inspiration or that you think would be important for a young entrepreneur.
Prove it. Prove it that you're good. It's more than one word. I am a strong believer in, I hate people who tell me that they're getting bored at job because work is not very challenging and very exciting, and they are not shining. I say, if you're that good, you should be able to do whatever was given to you in 2 hours and spend another 6 hours showing them what, which is what I did during my days at Lint. No matter what you assign to me, no matter how complex the project was, 6 months project, I'm done in 6 weeks. And I'm looking for more work. I was like a genie. Give me more work. My bosses used to say, it can't be done in 6 weeks. I'm done, you don't see. And so you need to, you can't tell me you're good. You can't tell me you're great. Just show it to me. And you should show through that. And give yourself a chance. Nobody else will. Nobody else will. And it's all right if you don't want to be an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that everybody is, but don't tell me that I need to raise money, I need to do this, I need to just do it.
Well,
Okay.
Kanwal, you've taken us on a journey from your early beginnings, technologist, entrepreneur, executive, investor, venture capitalist, ecosystem builder. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with us today.
I've been at the right place at the right time. I think Silicon Valley was made for me. I took to the valley.
Well, your first 2 or 3 layoffs didn't give you that impression, but
Not it. I tell you, when I reflect, those layoffs were the best thing that happened to me.
Why is that?
They toughen you up. They toughen you up. They toughen you up, and they say, nobody's ever going to do that to me ever again. Why did I put my life in somebody else's hands? And you also become very aware that job is not for life. Job is something they keep you as long as they need you, and you should have the flip side. You should stay there as long as you need to. Loyalty, that's in the way, right? So it frees you up as an individual.